Hello, namaste, and welcome to Agile Exploration Hub. I'm your host, Nagesh Deshpande. Today, we are bringing a new episode, and the topic will be around quality assurance. So, today's episode is test automation in Agile, accelerating quality assurance. What happens? Many test or many engineering teams, many product teams, they do test automation. They invest heavily in the test automation. Yet, releases are still slow, quality issues are still there. To discuss on this episode, we have Rajesh, who is a staff QA engineer at a product based organization. He will explain how test automation really works in Agile. So, you will learn what actually speed up the quality and what silently slows down the team. So, if automation is not giving the result, watch this. This episode is for you. So, watch till the end, like the video, subscribe to my channel, and without wasting much time, let's welcome Rajesh. Hey, hi, Rajesh.
Hi Nagesh, happy to be back again and
Nice to see
discussing my favorite subject, quality assurance.
quality assurance. Yes.
Yeah, thank you for having me on this episode, and really a pleasure. My way of contributing to the QA community, and also your podcast, which is really engaging, and I have been following for quite some time.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thanks for the encouraging word. So, there is one more great news that I want to share with all of you. Agile Exploration Hub has reached 1,000 subscribers. It's one of the biggest milestone that we have achieved in recent past. So, I would like to say thank you to all my subscribers. Keep showing your support. Please, please keep showing your support. Thanks a lot for wonderful support so far. So, as promised, let's continue with our discussion. Rajesh, first thing I would like to understand, what does test automation fail to speed up the delivery?
Yeah, so the whole objective of test automation is to speed up the delivery, but then in some cases it does fail to achieve what is it is expected to achieve for a
Right,
simple fact that automation is not something which is treated as a deliverable of a release. So many a times it does happen that it's either an afterthought or it is something which is which lags the releases. I mean, in also in previous episode also I did discuss about this one aspect where we should have to engineer quality within the product while we deliver the product. A lot of times what happens is the organization, for them, automation is an afterthought, or
right,
there is an initial investment that goes into setting up the automation framework, defining the rules, and then you deliver your first script. So the time it takes for the script to the first script to be delivered, and then the subsequent scripts will be faster, but then the initial setup is something which is quite a challenge. Not today, but then that used to be the case, which is the reason why we have seen that a lot of times test automation fails to deliver what it is supposed to.
agree.
The second aspect to that is when we scale test automation, there is kind of a delay in the way. The expectation here is to get faster feedback.
Right,
Now, for faster feedback, we had talked about Martin Fowler's concept of the test pyramid, where majority of the focus should be laid into the underlying component testing. Like you have the unit test, the API tests, then you have the user journey tests, which I had coined, where I said that you have to focus on how a user would use the application rather than looking at each and every component and then keep on adding as many scripts as you want just to ensure the full coverage. on a UI layer, which typically turns out to be brittle at the top, and then when you drill it down to the units, then it becomes a lesser, less of an impact. So
Right.
that's what are the two takeaways that I would suggest, that which could speed up the delivery for sure, number one, and number two is automation may not fail. Because if you are looking at a suite of 1,000 test cases, okay, 500 have failed, 500 have passed. So you have to look at those 500 failures. Many
Right.
a times you have to do it manually.
Absolutely.
Now that is where the speed of delivery which we are expecting is not achieved. So which is
Right.
where we have to strike that balance, and these are two pointers which I see are very important when it comes to um, speeding up the delivery and at the same time leveraging automation.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one more thing that I would like to add here. See, some teams and some of the engineers, they might be good at writing the code, for test automation. They're building the code, they're building the framework, everything is fine. But as you said, 500 test cases fail, refactoring that code is a challenge. And they may not be good at it. So because it's for them, it's a overhead. Okay. And the motivation or the passion or that it slow down. So that can be one of the factor that I can think of. If you also viewers, if you are also agree with this, do share your views in the comments. Moving on, now let's discuss some of the mistakes. What are some of the common mistakes team makes while trying to do the test automation in agile projects?
Yeah, I have touched upon it previously. Let me expand it a little bit. So you have in sprint or whenever you are working in a agile kind of a setup, there is a runway. There is a runway sprint, right, where you
Right.
have to initially set up things, have different. Define the tools, define the
Right.
rules.
Yeah. Some
Um,
some people call it a sprint zero. Yeah.
yeah,
That's what.
sprint
Yeah.
zero or the runway sprint, right?
Hmm.
So before you take off, you have to have your pre-checks done, right?
Right.
So that would be the right place to start with your automation project itself. So define what toolings you need. Like I said, don't get hung up on tools. Tools
Hmm.
come and go.
Absolutely.
These days, people talk a lot about Playwright. Selenium used to be a rad thing before. There were several tools that came along, right?
Right.
So many a times the problem lies in this decision that you need to make on the tooling that is required at the start. So once you stick to that tool or you have defined that tool, when you have to transition between the toolings or when you have to transition between different technologies or what have you. So in that case, lot of times what happens is that whatever benefit or whatever leverage we are planning to gain from automating things,
Hmm.
they get lost in
Absolutely.
such
Yeah.
such a scenario. That you are still trying to figure out which tool is the best, or you found out that okay, this tool is the most important. This is being used a lot, but then many a times we forget the fact that we have to look for what fits best in our scenarios, right?
Right.
It's not just for automation or testing. It's for every place. People talk a lot about Kubernetes or Dockerization, containerization when it comes to delivering the product. So at that time, is Kubernetes really important in our case? Are we going to scale it to that extent? Would be a question that you might ask, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
So these are certain factors which actually lead to teams getting hung up on how we can how what is the best way to deliver. That's the first thing. But then the second aspect to that is that how do we mature our product in a way that the I mean, we get to a point where it becomes data driven, or we are able to build um, uh, predictions or
Mm.
precisions, or get to a point where we are able to make decisions given the data that we have. So that happens once you have matured your quality assurance or your QA product in a way that it is able to deliver, it is able to run your tests, but at the same time it is able to give you data points that can help you better make decisions on your automation,
Right.
right? And that is what is the biggest challenge that we typically see when it comes to automation projects, because we are first and foremost, a lot of times we are sitting on backlogs of automation. Okay, we are not able to connect functionalities with the tests that we have. Uh,
Right.
we are not able to map the requirements with the test we have. The product has evolved. There have been a lot of changes in the product. There are a lot of tests that have become irrelevant. We
Right.
haven't gotten rid of that, or we haven't improved it, or we haven't added additional assertions uh, based upon the new features that have come in.
Right.
We haven't taken a stock of actually what quality assets exist in our application. And those are the things which typically are the mistakes that people do, and then it becomes this giant technical debt
Technical date. Yes.
yeah,
Mm.
that you have to address at some point.
Right.
That is what are some of the mistakes that teams do. So we have to get to a point where it becomes data driven more than, I mean, when I say data driven, the results that we get should be more data driven, so that we can make uh, proper prediction about the quality of our application.
Right. Nice. And then actually, how much automation is useful in Agile?
Oh, agile automation is useful. I mean, it has to be. I mean, quality is something which has to be engineered into your development life cycle, and that cannot happen without automation. I mean,
Right.
automation is a must. You cannot do away with automation, but automation is not the um, I mean, it's not the silver bullet that will solve all your
Problems. Yeah.
testing problems, right?
Yes.
I mean, testing has to have, I mean, it has all its nuances which has to be gone through. That I mean, not everything can be solved using automation. There are things that sometimes you feel that automating it could be a lot of effort, which can be done manually. So you shift them to manual testing. You have a session of exploratory testing, like I said. I mean, I have been a huge advocate of exploratory testing, but then
Yes. We
we
are.
have to draw lines of what exactly has to be done with uh, automation. What I mean, where does automation fit into this is very important, which is which will give you better coverage. I mean, if you're looking for good coverage, then of course automation is a must, but then it solves about 80 to 90% of your problem, of your quality problems. But then the remaining 5 or 6% are the most important ones, which can be solved only if you strike that balance of the test pyramid, along with a good sense of manual testing efforts.
Right. And then want to also understand uh, in some cases this automation works one sprint behind. Is it a good practice? What your view? In short, what you will say?
I think one sprint behind, again, it depends upon the context, but then I am a huge believer in having automation work in tandem with the development, so that you can leverage the full benefits of automation. Because if you are going one sprint behind, I
Hmm.
mean, you already have the speed of delivery, I mean, the advantage you
Compromise.
would get on the
Mm.
speed of delivery already lost. So
Mm.
better to work in tandem with the developers to actually get automation in place.
Okay. Let's also discuss on collaboration. How should a QA work with the developers? There is nothing like a QA developer. We are all developers. But what should be the collaboration, best way to collaborate?
Yeah, I mean, I like that you brought up this question because this has been one of the things which in my organization we have been trying to align with the developers. Where there is a saying in our organization that quality is everybody's responsibility. At the
Responsibility.
same time, the QA is the custodian of quality.
Hmm.
So it will be both ways. It's everybody's responsibility, but the QAs will be the custodians. So this is a famous saying within our organization, and that's how we had a process where we had explained to the developers about how, or we have collaborated with the developers, where we had spoken about the different quality assurance setups that we had. At the same time, our approach to quality, like how do we look at testing a feature, right? I mean, that nerve, I think somehow the QAs have. I mean,
Right.
when you are a QA for, let's say, a good amount of time, you develop that nerve of how would you like to test a particular feature or an application. And the approach sometimes, I mean, a lot of developers did come back to me and say, okay, I mean, we never thought this was a way to approach things, right? I
Right.
mean, developers, they are expert coders, but then when it comes to testing, and then when you have the thought process of the QA come into picture. So these two things, when you are able to stitch them together into a process where you can engineer quality, I mean, the results have been amazing in within our organization. A lot of things we were able to improve. Um, uh, Developers began to use our automation suite to actually release themselves. I mean, we also, I mean, took some releases without the developers. I mean, we also took development tasks, developed it. So like we said, that QA and development are not. I mean, there is no line drawn now. We were trying to do that, and in the process, I mean, a lot of things we learned from the development perspective, and a lot of things they learned from the QA perspective. And then we
Absolutely.
had this collaboration which actually enhanced. So from this, there were a lot of things that we learned together. One is quality assurance. The way we approach quality is a little different from how the developers see it. That's one. The other thing is, when collaborating with them, we get better ideas of how we can test it with a minimalistic approach to quality.
Right.
I mean, how can we optimize our tests? So these are some things which came up from this collaboration that we had with the developers.
Great. Great story. Yeah. So even I shared my views in one of the conferences a year ago, where I encourage all the developers to sit together with QA, understand what they are going to test, how they are going to test, and all that. At the same time, QA, you must learn how to do unit testing, understand the code, how this code is behaving. Okay, give your contribution into the unit testing. Try to learn the coding the same time with the developers. So it's a good collaborative activity. If you do it together, it will minimize the load while you're doing the functional testing as well as functional automation testing. The rest of the time you can spend it on exploratory testing. That's what I can see. So these are some of the collaboration techniques that we can suggest right now. Now, let's talk about some leaders now. So let's say we are already industry veteran now, and then we have leadership roles and all that. How, as a QA leader, we can show the business value, or we can make the real business impact.
Yeah. So, so in order to create that impact of as a leader in quality, the most important thing that we have to look at um, is um, an approach where quality should be part of the entire delivery life cycle. So,
Right.
so when we say quality assurance, or when we have to talk about the quality of the product, the delivery life cycle should also include automation as one of the aspects to it. It should be one of the deliverable, one of the
Right.
artifacts, and it should also give a kind of metric which says that how many features are we able to cover with the automation. At the same time, we have to also suggest why this metric ensures that we have done a thorough testing of it. Of course,
Right.
I mean, all this aside, I mean, is it going to be a bug-free product? No, that's a myth.
No, not at
Bug-free
all.
product is always a myth, because even if you deliver the best possible product, the context in which it is used is totally different. So, and the most important thing we need to understand is the context of the product. So the context of the product means the personas who are going to use the product. So who are the users? How are they going to have that experience of our product when it comes to um, when it comes to the usage of it? I mean, engineers can have write thousands of tests, thousands of scenarios. They can do everything and then come up with a. I mean, they can come up with statistics, metrics to suggest everything is working. But then, if it is not in the context, so as quality leaders, one of the things we have to look at is the context in which it is. Now, I'll give you an analogy. So, I don't know how many of the viewers or I mean people who are will watch this podcast are fans of the Big Bang Theory. This is, I mean, the scientists Sheldon and Leonard's story, right? So in that there was, I mean, once Rajesh said that um, guess who I ran into last week. Okay, and then Sheldon says Muhammad Lee. Okay, so he said, why do you think I would have ran into Muhammad Lee? So he said, no, I have put statistically the odds of having gotten into someone would be Muhammad Lee. You will have, I mean, the most number of names is Muhammad Lee, first name, and the most number of last name is Lee. So that is the reason why I put them together, and then statistically I was guessing the odds. So, so that is how probably you could deliver quality, right? The other way is in the context of it. If you are able to guess it correctly, then in that case, it makes more sense, right? I mean, he could have said your sister, your brother, or maybe someone else whom they know within the group, right? So that would have made the odds even more possible, right? So developers typically would get into that Muhammad Lee analogy of delivering things, or engineers. Okay, I'm not pinpointing on the developers, but then QA leaders, for them it would be easy for us to give the context in which this product was tested and how we can say that the quality of it is better, or the statistics can support it.
Right. Great story. Yeah, absolutely. Great examples again. So again, one more thing that I would like to see QA leaders are doing is like, give a heuristic, the end-to-end view to all the QA team members. Rajesh, let's come to our last question of the day. What should professionals stop doing in test automation?
Well, with AI, or
Anything. Like there is a era of AI. It can be something over engineering. It can be learning too many tools. Can be anything.
Yeah, I mean, tools is one thing. I mean, don't get hung up on tools. Like, I mean, which is the best, Selenium, Playwright, not something to debate. Use them depending upon what best fits your purpose. That's one. Secondly, focus on uh, the lower side of testing, which is the UI tests. Sorry, the API tests
API
or
test and unit tests. Yeah.
component tests or
Mm.
unit tests more than focusing on the UI test. UI test should be as lean and mean as possible. That's I mean, many a times that is what I see gets missed. A lot of times there is a lot of UI tests which are written because it looks dramatic in nature, right? You see the magic of the browser opening, the application loading up. You see a lot of thing that sells actually, but then you don't see the API tests running and all. So I mean, let's get out of that glamorous world of showing a browser opening and running the test, because browser tests are quite brittle in nature. I mean,
Right.
they would typically not scale, number one, and number two is, I mean, they definitely won't give you the expected output that you would require. It might take you a lot of hours before you can get the final result for a huge product. But then if you have UI test, I mean API test, which takes 1/10 of the time quite often, if not less, but then they give you a quick feedback on the stability of your APIs, and then you just have to have some UI tests which a user would navigate on a regular basis. And for that, you have a lot of tools and technologies that support you. So this is something which I would suggest, recommend to everyone, that look downwards more than the UI test, and that would really help improve the quality of the deliverables, the speed of the delivery, and at the same time, it will give you the quality assurance that is expected.
With this, we are coming to the end of today's episode. So, guys, keep doing the good work. Bringing more quality into Agile, and your sprint should be in sprint automation. So, once again, we will say thank you to Rajesh for being such a wonderful speaker and today's guest speaker. So, once again, if you like the video, please subscribe to my channel, share with your friends, and keep supporting. Thank you, Rajesh.
Yeah, thanks a lot.